There we go. What? I've never seen it do that before. Don't know how to choose that. Oh, nope, that didn't work. This thing's been doing weird stuff all. Stop it. I don't like it touch my board. Oh, there. Hopefully that works. So, before we even get into the four conditions thing, hopefully you looked that up. A lot of you have Z's in the grade. Some of you have multiple Z's in the grade. Your grade probably shows as very, very, very low because we've only had 6 quizzes this quarter, as opposed to the 8 that we would normally have, 8 grades at least. Technically, it's not that many quizzes, it's that many quiz grades. Here's the good news. Yes, you have, well, the bad news is you got a lot of stuff to make up. The good news is your grade can go way, way up. If you are missing a quiz, it goes in as a 0. So whatever your score is right now, instead of only being able to, go up on a quiz like 20% or 30%, you might go up 70, 80% on one quiz. Well, that 70 or 80% might translate into 10 points on your overall grade. So make sure you prepare for those quizzes. Again, I'm not going to probably show them, but I'll read them for the video people. There's a YouTube video called Mr. Gill Review Video of Parallel Perpendicular Quiz. That is 2 different grades. One's 3 questions, and I actually think that's the easier part of the quiz. And then one is 2 questions. So neither of them is super intensive. And I don't really even change that for the retake. The numbers are different, but that's about it. The second review video is Mr. Gill Review for Translation, Reflections, Rotations Quiz. Just did the quiz, the actual name of it. I just did that quiz that you took on rotations, reflections, and translations. I did change that one a little bit from the retake. A lot of kids are doing the exact same thing as I did on the video. You need to still read the question because it's changed, a little different. And then there's a third one that I haven't even written up there. I do not know the name of this one, not word for word, but it says Mr. Gill Review. It might say review video, it might just say review. And it says it's the one for the triangles, angles and triangles, triangle congruence, something like that. And it probably says 4 quiz retake or something like that. It doesn't have a date on it. That's another way to find them. Those I don't typically put dates on those because they're not the recording of a lesson. Those are all the exact same thing. I mean, I just did the quiz on the video. And I probably talk a little bit about mistakes kids make. I might give a little tiny lesson in there, but mostly I'm just doing the quiz. And then I'm not even changing the quizzes that much, not even at all for the first one. There is no reason why, if you care about your grade, you can't go watch that. You got to watch it 4 or 5 times, watch it 4 or 5 times, so that you can come in and do a retake and do well, not requiring tutoring. But if you don't put some time into it, how are you going to get a better score? And I'm giving you exactly what you need to get a better score. For a lot of you, this is your quarter to get your grade up. Try to pass this course for some of you. I don't know what else to do but give you the exact same quiz we did, and then give you a very similar, if not pretty much the exact same quiz that you get to retake. We'll do some exit ticket stuff this week, but that's not always enough, just exit tickets to get your grade up as much as you want. You may have to add in retakes as well. Make sure you bring your laptops. We'll do some stuff on the laptops today. We'll definitely be using them tomorrow, and I need individuals to have laptops tomorrow because you're going to be doing an individual test on the district assessment, which I can't have you sharing for that. So make sure you have those. What are the 4 conditions? They're not theorems, they're not conditions, or they're not theorems, they're just conditions. If we have 2 triangles and we want to prove they're congruent, because congruent would mean that all the sides of one triangle would match all the sides of the other, all the angles of one match all the angles of the other. But we said there are 4 things that if we just have some information, We don't have to have every side and every angle. There are 4 of them that if we just had 3 things, they would tell us the triangles were congruent. What are they? Just say them out loud. So we can move forward. Side, side, side. So side, side, side was the side, side, side was the very first one we did. I hope that worked. There we go. What was another one you said? Side angle side. What else? Angle side angle, and one more. Perfect. So those are the 4 conditions that if we just know that all the sides are the same length, or that 2 sides are the same length, and the angle in between them is the same measure across the 2 triangles. Same thing here, 2 angles are the same measure, but then the side in between them is the same length. And then the last one was angle, angle, side. So in order, 2 angles are congruent, and then the side that follows that second angle. And we said, this is the same thing. I don't know what I'm just doing. Oh, that's going to mess it up. So this one is the same condition. It's not a separate one. It's not a 5th thing. We're just reversing the direction. If I started an angle and go angle, angle, side, that's the same triangle as if I started at the side and went to the angle and then the angle. So it's not a 5th condition. So you need to know, though, if you come up with this, that also proves congruence. You might remember the 2 that didn't. I mean, I did one. What are the 2 that don't prove congruence? So we have, let's change. Oh, let's do this. So we have 2 that don't. I'll just write it. S, S, A, and then A, A, A. Those 2 do not prove congruence. And I'm not going to go into why. We said 1, there's no profanity. The first one, if you look at the letters backward, that's cuss word. So that was just a memorization trick. And then for angle, 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 we talked about the fact that if you shrink or enlarge a triangle, you can keep the angles the same, but they're not the same triangle. They're clearly different. If I took one and made it smaller, like I think I used an equilateral triangle as an example, I could have a really, really tiny equilateral triangle and all the angles are 60, or a gigantic triangle that's outside, that's part of a building structure, and it would all have the same measure of angles, but they're clearly not the same size triangle. They're not congruent. So there's only 6 of them. That's the only 6 combinations you can do with sides and angles. So it might be easier to remember the 2 that don't work. And if you remember the 2 that don't work, all of the other combinations work. As long as you understand this could be the same thing as ASS. I could reverse it. Then every other combination would work. So again, however you got to memorize it, though, you need to know these 4 prove congruence. And then that's kind of like all of them. Because on my quiz, the IXLs, they had those buttons there for you to hit. On the quiz, you got to come up with that from memory. Got to know those 4 and tell me what the reason is why you can say, yes, 2 triangles are congruent, or no, they're not congruent, and that would be one of those 2. So again, the quiz, if I don't even remember if I said, quiz will be next week. I'm pushing it off so we can do tickets all week long to try to work on grades. And then it'll still go on next quarter. Yeah. But I told you I was going to do that this week, but then I'm like, well, it's not going on this quarter. There's no real reason to do it this week. Let's focus on doing stuff that will help you this quarter. So we're going to do exit tickets almost every day. We'll do one today. Tomorrow may be the only day we don't do one. We'll do probably 2 on Wednesday, and then probably Friday we'll do 1. And then there'll be different point values as well. So 4 different exit tickets, potentially worth 7 or 8 points, depending on, you're going to be able to choose like point values. So here are the topics. So first topic, this is the one we're doing today, parallel lines and transversal. I'll give you a quick reminder, then you'll practice some IXLs, and I'll come around and just have you do one of the IXLs for me to do a problem. Or I might just even ask you a question and I'll make you do one. I also have rotations, reflections, translation stuff we can do. You might graph a reflection, graph a rotation. You might just write a rule, so I don't give you anything to like graph. I just say, hey, here's the pre-image point, here's the final image point. What's the rule? So how did the X and Y, did they switch places? Did the sign change? That kind of stuff. You might get one where you do both. That would be worth more points. So instead of just 1 point, that would be worth maybe 2 points. You'll also have the ability to do, so I told you I'm going to change the quiz from last Friday a little bit since I did that quiz on video. So I'm going to change it a little bit. It's not going to be the exact same quiz. The exit tickets will be the exact same. These were the questions from the quiz, just like that. I'm going to give you those exact same questions potentially for exit tickets. I've even made different versions where this one was a little more complex as far as the numbers go, as far as the algebra goes. I'm going to make an easier version where the math's not so bad. It'll be worth less points. It might only be 1 point instead of 2 points. This might be 3 points if you do it the way it is there, because there's a lot more math in that. Or I'm going to make an easier version of that where you can maybe just do it for 1 point, and there's really not even math at all. You just have to tell me which side matches which side, or which angle matches which angle. So there's going to be a bunch of options. Just make sure you practice a little on your own. If you're trying to get your grade up, I'll give you a choice of whatever you practice. Like if you watch a video 2 or 3 times one night, and I say, hey, what exit ticket do you want? You can say, give me an exit ticket on rotations, reflections, transformation, or translations. Or give me an exit ticket on angles. This is angles and triangles. This is congruence in triangles. So you'll be able to pick what you want and how many points for some of them. The new stuff we do on the block day, that will all be the same exit ticket. All right. Any questions on grade stuff? Sure. Yeah, that was everything. I'll go ahead and write this down. W, B is in boy 9. That's going to be the IXL. You're going to practice and get the exit ticket on in a minute. Retail. Because I haven't gotten through all the retakes, and I don't know when I will and this is why I cut it off and I don't do anything next week. On top of the 150 quizzes that I got for the new quiz we took, I have another 150 something quizzes that I have to grade for retake. I've started them, but there's just no way to get all that. I was hoping I would, but I forgot I gave you all a free retake. So it wasn't like the normal 50 or 60 retakes I had. It's probably even more than 150. Basically, you all got a retake, plus I had people come in and do other retakes. So I probably had 180 to 200 retakes on top of the original quiz. So here's the deal, because they're not graded and you don't know if you like what you got. If you know you didn't do well, or if you just really want to put the time in and try to get 100, I'll let you do that. Normally I have to grade them first. I'll let you come in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to write your name down on a list of people doing retakes. Oh, nope, that's not it. I got it. Okay. So I'm going to write your name down and what retake you do. Man, you got my big on me. I'm going to write your name down and what retake you do. I will only grade that. I'm not going to go back and grade the other one that you did. I'm going to assume that you came in and did it because you prepared. So just know this is your final grade. I'm not taking the best. Because if I'm going to let you do it when I still don't even know what you got on the original, I'm not going to grade 2. But if you know you didn't really do anything to prepare for the free retake I gave you, which is rotations, that stuff, then you can prepare on your own, watch the video, come in, do it, and that may be the one that I do. And that's true for any of the retakes. If you want to retake anything, I'll just write down what you took, and that'll be the only one I grade. I'll grade anything that you've done in the past. even if it was the first time. Good question. Glad you mentioned that. I'm glad that was on the recording because I don't think I mentioned that in any other class. All right, here's the new thing. I'm going to go over this super fast. I don't even know if this is going to be something you're going to see. So we're moving into right triangles. Right triangle, 90-degree angle. Reminder stuff, there's a hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. Always, always, always. That's the easiest way to find it. It is the longest side, so if it's easy to visually tell which one is the longest, you can also find it that way. Safest way is just to find the right angle and go across from it, though, to the opposite side. The other two sides are called legs. So you're going to need to know that because the name of this next theorem, or again, not a theorem, it's condition. We are going to learn today that you can actually prove two right triangles are congruent. This is only for right triangles. If you know that the hypotenuse of both triangles is congruent and one of the legs is congruent across the two triangles. Again, we're not saying the two legs here are congruent to each other. So again, hypotenuse is congruent. And then one of the legs is congruent. That's a horrible job. I think you get the point. That would be enough for a right triangle, not for other triangles, which shouldn't be confusing because other triangles don't have a hypotenuse anyway. Only right triangles have a hypotenuse, so can't work with triangles. Here's my question. What would that be if it was like a normal, like what letters, S's, A's, all that kind of stuff? What would that be if we had those markings? I'm going to call on somebody. So if we had those markings, so this is a what? Actually, I'm not. What is that? That is a what? Are the two on it? What is? But the hypotenuse is a S's and A's.
S and what?
Like S or A.
Oh,
it's a side, right? So that would be an S. And then we would go to the next marking. So from here to here, what would that be? Side. And then we'd go to the next marking, which would be that. And we said in other triangles that doesn't work. Can anybody tell me why that does work in this triangle? And then, well, for right triangle. Why does it work for right triangle, but not any other triangle? Only right triangle. One person has got to. At least before the hint. After the hints. So what else have I told you? And I'll certainly tell you a lot more moving forward because the whole lesson on it. What else is super important about right triangles? And no, it's not just that there's a 90-degree angle. It's just the definition. There's another big concept you learn. Probably back in pre-algebra for a lot of you, 7th grade math. Definitely you did it a lot in algebra. What's a big concept you learn about right triangles? Probably can't pronounce the Greek name. Really? That's what I'm thinking. Do with some letters. There you go. Oh, you pronounced it correctly. We know that for any right triangle, take one leg, square it. Take the other leg and square it. Add that together, and it equals the hypotenuse squared. All right triangles, zero exception. That's why it got its own name, Pythagorean theorem. So if that's true for all right triangles, and if I know two of the three sides are the same, the third side has to be the same. It's just the way the math would work out. If I'm plugging in, so if I wrote a squared, b squared, c squared down here, and if I plug in the same thing for a and the same thing for c, I'm going to get the same thing for b. So if that's the case, I really know this is true. The third side has to also be congruent just because of that Pythagorean theorem, which means the reason this works is really just because you can say, well, it's really side, side, side. Because the third side has to be true. So all they did is they just shortened up side, 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 and they said, well, for a right triangle, we just need two of the sides. And frankly, it could have been any two sides. It could have been leg, leg. That's actually another theorem. We're not going to learn it specifically, but if we just knew leg, leg was congruent, we could then say the same thing is true. The hypotenuse would have to be the same. So that's all we're doing on that. We're not practicing it at all. It probably will be one that you'll see at some point, like next week, maybe. I'm going to do probably two problems from IXL, and then hopefully we'll have about 20 minutes to do, like to practice and do the, so you can go ahead and start getting your laptops out and up and logged in and running. I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you the setup that I want you to use. Oh, I guess it's still up. All right, that's fine. That'll work. So there's two different types of problems you're going to get as far as visual. They're the same problem. Just all they've done is they've taken this image and they've tilted it when they give you one that's like that. All of them have to do with parallel lines and a transversal. That's what we're working. That quiz, a lot of people never even took it. It was the one where I let you practice more if you didn't feel ready instead of making you take it in class. But a lot of people never came in and took it when they practiced. I will never do that again. If you'll notice, I never did it again. Here's the new way that I'm going to teach. We said that there's really only two different measures in the whole figure because we have a bunch of angles that are the same. Those four angles are all the same. Well, these four angles are all the same. Has to do with vertical angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior. We went over all the definitions. Intuitively, if this helps you, so again, there's only two different measures, two different numbers in this whole diagram. If I kept adding parallel lines, if I added another parallel line there, and there, and there, there'd still only be two numbers. Because every time this transversal hits a new parallel line, it's just creating the same angle. I mean, you can look at all these angles here. They're the same angle. The slope is the same for every parallel line, so I just keep hitting it at the same angle. So every time I hit an intersection, I'm going to call it. Yeah, let's get rid of all that. So every time I hit an intersection, just know that every intersection is the same. And by intersection, I mean like, this little intersection where the lines cross. And then this little intersection here where the lines cross. I'm just duplicating that intersection over and over and over and over and over. So if you can remember that, here's the new, which we've gone over before. Here's the new thing new way that I'm teaching. We numbered them before. First, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I did this thing with 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, well, just go clockwise all the way around. I'm going to cut it down to two numbers. 1 and 2. So now let's talk about what we know as far as this intersection goes, which means ignore down here. If I know that's a 1, what else do I know in that intersection? Harder. What do I know? I know this is a 1 here, and I'm just naming them. These are not measures. I just named that angle 1. I'm naming an angle 2. What's true about this angle here and one of the other angles up there? So it's this thing. So what do we have? What's that called? Now anybody can answer. We have two lines across. What do we have? We have vertical angles. We actually have two pairs of vertical angles. So if that angle 1 is there, that's going to be the same measure of it. Well, same thing for 2. That's If I've named that angle 2, I could really just say, well, that's the same angle as angle 2. Same measure. I'll just name that one angle 2 also. And now if you just repeat that over and over again, every time you have a new parallel line, so if I come down and I hit a new parallel line, I'm going to do the same thing. 2, and then 2, 1. The last piece of it is if I give you information, or if they get, well, actually, here, I'll show. I think that's ML. Shoot, what is that? Let's see if we can figure it out. MLJ. So that MLJ is 134. So, this was a little concerning. On the quiz, a lot of you didn't know how to like tell what an angle was, or you got confused when I said angle ABC. That symbol means angle. You can't see it on the screen. Oh, actually, yeah, what? Angle MLJ. That means angle MLJ. It's the red thing that I just. This is the measure of the angle right here. It's become apparent to me that we don't know notation and what an angle even is in some cases. That would be the measure of the angle. Whatever, if I put a protractor down and I saw where that, like I have one somewhere, but I put the protractor down, I see where that hits the protractor going up, probably 120 degrees, 125, I don't know, something in that range. Maybe even higher than that, maybe even 130. But the key is, this is the angle. You just go from letter to letter to letter, and the angle is, measured in there. Which means the name of that angle is that. Whatever number is inside the angle is the name of the angle. It's not the measure of it if we're doing ones and twos. They're not 1 degree and 2 degrees. So now the other angle that they want to know is, actually, I don't know the other angle they want to know. I guess it would have to be KLO. Can't be I, so yeah, it would have to be KLO. So let's do KL, and you just follow the letters. So that's the other angle. What is the number in that angle? Theta. The green one, I just did. K, I went from K. I'm assuming that's what it says here. I don't know for sure, but if I move the screen, all of this stuff stays where it's at, so we can't really move the screen. I went from K to L to O, so I made that green angle. What number's in that green angle? What's the name of it? It's a 2, right? So that angle is a 2. So I have a 2 there, and I have a 2 there. Those are the two angles they're talking about in this problem. So. If you get the same number when you do that, then they're equal. Like 1 and 1 would be the same measure. 2 and 2 would be the same measure. So in this case, if that was 134, which it was, that would be 134. What if you get a 1 into 2? What if it would have been, I had to do it in black, I guess. So what if it would have been that angle there and that angle there? Would have been the 2 that I highlighted, if that's the 2 that they gave me to figure out. What's true if it's a 1 and a 2 then? 1 and a 1, we know they're equal. And if we had equations, we would set them equal. 2 and a 2, same thing, set them equal. Same number, set them equal. What if it's a 1 and a 2? What's the only other option? Has to be 180, because look at 1 and 2 here. Well, if it's a 1 and 2 there, it adds up to 180. That's the semicircle thing. So if it's a 1 and 2 there, and that adds to 180, any 1 and any 2 will add to 180. So if you number them like this, and I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to tell you, I told the other classes they could turn their laptops and then number it like this. We learned later you don't even have to do that. You can just number these the same way. 1, 2, 1, 2. You don't even have to turn your laptop. If the picture they give you has vertical parallel lines, then just number it like that. And then, like I said, just figure out where the information is by following the letters to the angles. If it is the same number, 2 and 2, then they're the same measure. If it's a 1 and 1, same measure. If it's a 1 and a 2, then they add up to 180. So go ahead. This is W, B as in boy. You should have written it earlier. Go ahead and go into that, start practicing, and I'm going to work my way around. You'll be ready pretty quickly. Either that or if you guys want to work together, either way, because I can just have you do. Don't go to 100 though. Make sure you call me over before you get to 100. Same thing. Why don't you guys just share one? I don't care if you share that one, or there's already 2 chairs where people are sharing over there. You guys can just go over there and share it. Anybody else? Computers. Computers. Computer. You have a computer, just needed a charger. Okay. You have a computer or not? That one? All right, so start. I'm going to do attendance and then I'll start walking around. And I got to do it fast because we're down to 15 minutes, I think, which is, oh, that's in that 12. So you're going fast. What I might do is for some of you, like if I can do a group at one time, I'll just tell all of you to do the one you're on. And I'll just, although you won't have to do them separately, I'll just look at the screen and you'll just submit for me and I'll just see it together. Right? Question? W, B as in boy, and then 9, number 9.